I am a woman in my 30s who works as a teacher at an elementary school. I almost got married last year, but the engagement was called off. In fact, it was my future mother-in-law who ended it. After the breakup, it was very difficult for me for a while, but something happened recently that washed away the injustice done to me once and for all. I am telling this story about why my engagement was broken off, which was because of my parents' occupation. My parents sell hot dogs and snacks at two small stands in open markets. They still sell food to this day. To me, my parents seem to have been destined to work in the market. My mother was called the dessert girl, and my father the hot dog boy. They became a couple after dating, ended up getting married, and had me. They still work at their small shops and make the food with love and care to serve their customers. When I was very young, I was so happy when my mom and dad would bring me food every day from their work. But when I started school, I began to feel embarrassed about my parents' occupation. I was afraid that my friends would see my parents at the market, so I intentionally never went near there. Every year when the school conducted a demographic survey, I lied about my parents' occupation, marking my mother as a housewife and my father as an office worker. I was afraid that if my school friends found out my parents worked as food vendors at the market, I would be criticized. I was critical of them. Why are you paying so much attention when making cheap food? Just do it however you want, people won't know. Then my mother would respond, what do you mean they won't know? People taste it, right? People's palates are very precise and any food people eat should be made with care. It's just cheap food, but it's food that people with little money can afford. That's why your father intentionally buys only the best ingredients. Your mom and dad sell cheap food, but we want to make it with extra care. I couldn't understand the effort my mom and dad put in from dawn until late at night, with all the extra work and careful selection of ingredients, making food that cost less than a few dollars. No one would recognize their efforts. As I got older, I began to change my opinion after seeing my parents maintain the same high standard and care in producing food. It taught me that people should live honestly and sincerely, like my parents. Eventually, I began to respect my parents' profession. Their work was everything. Anyone who evaluated them according to their own standards and devalued them made me angry. People often say, why doesn't God take away these bad people? After my failed engagement, whenever I got angry, I prayed for God to punish those who wronged me. 2 months ago, an unexpected opportunity arose for me. I was so happy to hear the news. I have a sister 9 years younger. She was born years after me and my parents. I wasn't jealous of her because she was very cute and adorable, maybe due to the big age difference. However, she always complains about her appearance. Hey sis, why are my eyes so small when you have big eyes? It might be because mom and dad had me too late, so they didn't give me good genes. You are so pretty. Even my younger sister's ugly face was adorable in my eyes. She always said, no Sarah, you are much prettier. I said this repeatedly, but she was so obsessed with appearance that she didn't believe me. As soon as she took the university entrance exam, she went alone to a plastic surgery clinic for a consultation. Hey sis, the exam is over. Can you come to the plastic surgery clinic for me? I got a call from my younger sister that scared me, so I rushed to the clinic. I found her face full of lines drawn with a marker. What happened to your face? I didn't know what was going on, so I asked my sister. I just had a consultation. They gave me a student discount, so can you pay the fees for me? I was perplexed. My sister was expecting me to pay for plastic surgery. I took a wet wipe from my bag and cleaned her face. Surprised, she grabbed my hand to stop me. No, they have to do the surgery like this. Your face doesn't need surgery. Didn't I tell you? You are pretty enough. So wipe this off and let's go home. No, I want to have the surgery today. My sister would be 19 in a few months, but she acted like a 9-year-old and threw a tantrum. At that moment, the doctor who was in the exam room came out because of the noise my sister and I were making. "Doctor, I can have the surgery today, right?" While my sister was asking the doctor, I looked at him, frowning. I was angry that if he hadn't drawn on my sister's face and put the idea of plastic surgery in her head, we wouldn't have reached this point. The doctor looked back and forth between my sister and me. He seemed to understand what was going on and told my sister, "We can't do the surgery today. I need to leave now. You said that night surgery would be possible before." Then the doctor made some excuses, saying that the night surgery slots were already filled. My sister was very upset because the current situation led to nothing. No matter how much you want to be prettier, how can you go straight to a plastic surgery clinic without money? Aren't you afraid something might go wrong? I argued with my sister the whole way home, but she was angry at me. She didn't say a word, turning her head to the car window. When my parents came home from work, they were worried about my sister, who was sulking and saying nothing, thinking she was upset about not doing well on her college entrance exams. That night, I thought about my sister. Since I didn't think she would listen to me even if I forbade her to go, my worries became reality. After my class, I was getting ready to go home when a text message from an unknown number appeared on my phone. When I read the message, my sister had gone to that clinic again. The message asked if I could pay the surgery bills in installments. When I called the number, it belonged to the doctor I had talked to. We exchanged phone calls about matters related to my sister. "I have a favor to ask of you," I asked seriously. "If my sister goes there again, could you tell her she doesn't need any surgery and that she just needs to take good care of herself, which will make her much prettier than now?" Then he said, "I could say that to her, but would your sister believe it? Why would a plastic surgeon tell her she could be prettier without surgery? Of course, she needs surgery to be prettier. It's like telling Sarah she doesn't need to study to get good grades." Hearing this, it suddenly made sense. Feeling embarrassed for making such a ridiculous request to a plastic surgeon, we exchanged several more calls, and my colleague started teasing me about dating a doctor and wishing me luck, hinting at a romantic relationship. Since the school was a small place, rumors spread quickly that I was dating a plastic surgeon. No matter how much I denied it, people around me didn't believe me. Even the students I taught would ask, "Teacher, are you dating?" which made the rumor spiral out of control. The situation worsened, and I simply gave up, hoping the rumors would fade away. When the rumors gradually subsided, the doctor actually asked me out casually. At first, I was confused, but he turned out to be very kind. After becoming a teacher, I often went out with colleagues, but honestly, there was no comparison. Just as the rumors said, we became a couple and dated smoothly, respecting each other. We spent a year together. I think dating changes people, and my younger sister noticed quickly. Eventually, my whole family found out about my relationship. My sister became more excited because I was dating the doctor from the clinic she had visited. "So if you marry that doctor, does that mean I can get plastic surgery for free?" "What do you mean by for free?" "Vicente is just an employed doctor, not the owner of the clinic." "Oh, I thought he was a director." "He's just an employed doctor, so what? It's enough if he's good at what he does." I ended up defending my boyfriend from my immature sister, and my parents were happy I was dating a doctor since it was time for me to get married. My parents said, "What's wrong with being an employed doctor? It's more important what kind of person he is. He must have studied hard to become a doctor. So if our daughter worked hard to become a teacher, she is as good as anyone. She is beautiful, and these days, teachers make the best brides." My parents praised both my boyfriend and me for our hard work, and seeing them do so made me feel proud. Just by looking at our jobs, I thought the match was good enough. It seemed my boyfriend felt the same way. I heard that my boyfriend's family thought my profession wasn't bad, but he told them I was an elementary school teacher. I didn't know that saying "not bad" meant it wasn't good. Literally, it meant my occupation wasn't bad. We dated for 2 years. Like any other couple, we were at the ideal age for marriage. We discussed it, and our parents were impatient and told me to invite my boyfriend for dinner at our house. My boyfriend said, "Okay, soon our parents will meet me." And when he came to our house for the first time, he looked around. My mom and I felt like we were being evaluated and got nervous. Actually, it is a ground floor house. When we moved in, the house was already over 20 years old, and by the time of the visit, the house was over 40 years old. Inside the house, it wasn't much different. At first glance, you could tell it was very old and worn out. I hadn't realized it until that moment, but when I brought my boyfriend home, every little detail seemed bothersome. However, my boyfriend didn't say anything about our house. Instead, he smiled all the time, saying my mom's food was delicious. I was worried that my boyfriend might be disappointed after seeing our house. I was relieved after seeing his reaction. After that day, my family assumed I had already decided to marry him. Not long after, I went to my boyfriend's house to meet his mother. That day, I paid special attention to my clothes and makeup and even got nervous to meet my boyfriend's mother, who was a widow. My boyfriend mentioned an unexpected topic in front of his house. "Dear, I'm sorry, but I lied to my mom about your parents' profession." My boyfriend told his mother that my parents ran a franchise coffee shop. When I heard that, I was surprised and upset. I wasn't in a position to be critical, but I had also heard that my boyfriend's family wasn't in a good financial situation. I never imagined I would feel hurt because of a materialistic condition. I was so offended that I told him I was leaving, but a voice interrupted me. "Oh my son, you are already here. Welcome. I am Vicente's mother. It's so nice to meet you." His mother was carrying a cake she had bought and was walking towards us. I was perplexed, but as his mother didn't notice anything, she asked me to come in. I had no choice but to enter his house. The apartment they lived in was a bit over 700 square feet and looked much nicer than our house. His mother, who met me for the first time, said she had sent my boyfriend to medical school with great difficulty because she got divorced when he was in high school. She said this with pride. It wouldn't have bothered me if my boyfriend hadn't lied about my parents' occupation. I didn't feel comfortable at any moment. I felt the same way when I was young and didn't want my friends to find out about my parents' occupation. And what I was worried about became a reality. "You said your name is Sarah? Where do you live?" My son needs to start preparing to open his own hospital. I have been busy visiting real estate agencies to find out which areas are the best. She asked me which area I lived in, and when I answered, she said, "That area is a bit problematic. Even if there are talks of development in the region, because of the nearby open market, the quality of patients won't be suitable. Your parents are well placed in business, so money won't be an issue, right? What is the name of the franchise?" I felt like I had a fishbone stuck in my throat when she asked that. So, I talked about my parents' business. She would find out the truth later anyway, so I didn't want to worry about being discovered. Actually, my parents sell hot snacks in open markets. What? Wait a minute, what did I just hear? An open market? Hot snacks? His mother made a big fuss, as if she was shocked by what I said. I felt embarrassed seeing her reaction, and my boyfriend seemed confused. "Mom, I will explain to you later." I can't believe this. Are you talking about what I think you are talking about? Instead, small unsanitary places selling cheap food, like hot dogs and so on. His mother narrowed her eyes like a venomous snake and snarled to confirm. When she used offensive words like cheap and unsanitary food, I refused to say anything more. She seemed frustrated because I wasn't responding. So, I went to the refrigerator to get a glass of cold water and gulped it down while standing. Then, she looked at me with that terrible look in her eyes. Suddenly, she sprayed that cold water on my face. It was the first time I had been treated so shamefully that I just looked at my boyfriend's mother. Then, she huffed like an angry bull and started to attack me with her words in anger. "I'm sorry, but this marriage is over. I have no intention of having your parents, who sell those cheap, unsanitary foods, as my in-laws. When I heard you were an elementary school teacher, I thought it wasn't so bad, but how dare you, from such a low family, think of marrying my son? I then retorted, it's not even funny. Don't you feel bad even being from such a low education background? How dare you not respond like that, she said. Of course, how could you have been raised better in such a bad and low-class environment? I could only laugh at her when her house looked much more pathetic than ours. Meanwhile, my boyfriend, stunned, quickly brought a towel to wipe my face. His mother became even more furious when he did that. She hit her grown son on the back and shouted, "How much I struggled to raise you to this point, and how dare you bring someone like her from such a low place?" I couldn't stay in that house any longer. I pulled my hands away from my boyfriend and ran outside. I grabbed a taxi and went home crying. I couldn't laugh at the ridiculous comments of such an incredibly rude person. It was sad to know my boyfriend had a mother like that. However, I couldn't ignore all the hurtful words that were said. That night, my boyfriend called and messaged me, saying he was sorry. He said he would fight his mother as much as he could and begged me to wait for him. I said I wanted to break up. Is your family so grand that she doesn't think about her own situation? Are my parents' jobs low class? Did that embarrass you? Was it so shameful for you? I don't want to be associated with someone who lies. You are no different. I'm ashamed to have loved someone like you, I said, and my boyfriend just listened and said nothing. I thought we were breaking up, then. However, one day, I came home from work, and for some reason, my mom came home earlier than usual. She was lying on the bed, and I saw her arm was bandaged. "Mom, what happened to your arm?" "It's nothing," she said, trying to hide her arm. "What do you mean by that?" I asked. "Your mom's anemia came back, and she stumbled and burned her arm on the hot stove," my dad said. "You don't know how worried I am. The burn is so serious it might leave scars," he added. My mom then said, "Dear, why do you tell Sarah all the details? I'm fine." "So what if an old lady like me has a few scars?" "No one will notice. It's okay to have a few scars." I choked up seeing my mom repeat those words, trying to calm me down. Then, my mom looked puzzled. "Why are you crying over something so small?" "I'm really fine," she turned to me. That night, I researched online for medical procedures to treat burn scars. A few days later, I received an unexpected call from my ex-boyfriend's hospital. I rushed there without even finishing my work. When I arrived at the hospital, my younger sister was showing my mom's burned arm to my ex-boyfriend. "Hey, why didn't you tell me before bringing mom here?" "You scared me," he said. "Why are you speaking so loudly? Why didn't you show mom's burn since your boyfriend is a plastic surgeon?" My sister was upset because she didn't know we had broken up. My mom seemed embarrassed to show her burned and scarred arm to my ex-boyfriend. "For now, let's get out of here. We'll talk outside." "Mom, let's go." I left the place as quickly as possible, taking my mom and sister with me. My ex looked at me and said, "It's okay, this is something I can at least do, so please don't be so demanding." My ex-boyfriend stopped me and examined my mom's arm carefully. "I'm sorry, I must have made the situation awkward by coming here," my mom said. "It's not awkward. It's not difficult to erase burn scars these days. They won't need surgery. It will take time to treat them, but they will improve a lot if you continue with the treatments," he said. How lucky, frankly, I thought. But I was worried, and everything got worse when my suspicion was confirmed. I ended up seeing his mother, whom I never wished to see again, at the hospital. "I came to see my son. So, do I have to call the police? I didn't expect to see you again." "I can't believe how persistent you are, like a beggar," she said. I no longer wanted to stand in front of his mother, who didn't hesitate to make such rude comments. "Bégard? You better be careful with what you're saying. It seems you don't like hearing things. Then, you shouldn't have come here. If you broke up, it's over. What else are you trying to take from my son? She continued. My mom looked at me. Sarah, what is all this? Did you break up? My mom asked. Listen here, hot dog seller. I don't want to have anything to do with you, so please leave, his mom said. My mom was so shocked by his mom's rude behavior that she was trembling. When I gained the courage, I was so furious that I yelled at an elderly woman for the first time in my life. Do you think this hospital is your son's property? I also don't want to be associated with someone as rude and ignorant as you. Let's leave, because even if you beg us to stay, we won't. Look at how a supposed teacher speaks, she retorted. I didn't respond. I left the hospital with my mom and sister, but they seemed quite shocked that day. My dad seemed frustrated for not knowing what happened, but I couldn't tell him what had happened at the hospital. I just felt it was all my fault. My mom couldn't work for 3 days straight because of the shock. Then, my mom prepared to leave after receiving a call. Where are you going? You should rest more, I said. She, with a sad look, said, the real estate agency called and someone is coming to rent a space in the building at the market entrance. Actually, I wanted to prepare money for your wedding, so I asked the real estate agency to rent it out as soon as possible. Fortunately, there was a space in your dad's building, and I asked kindly, so they let me move. I'm sorry for causing inconvenience to people. I plan to stop doing business at the market for you and your sister. I plan to open a proper restaurant so no one can look down on you. My mom was shaken by my broken engagement, and as her daughter, I felt sad. I deeply regret considering marrying a man like that because my mom wasn't in a stable mental condition. I insisted on accompanying her, even though she said she was fine. I had plenty of time because my school was on break and stubbornly demanded to go with her. When we arrived at the real estate office, I encountered my ex-boyfriend's mother. The agent told us she was looking for a space for the hospital to involve her son. She had said the neighborhood near the open market had a lower class of people, who weren't good enough as patients. So, why was she looking for a space here? The real estate agent, who didn't know anything, introduced my mom as the building's owner. My ex-boyfriend's mother's eyes widened as if they were ready to pop out, and she said, You're mistaken, aren't you? How could this building belong to the woman who sells cheap food at the open market? How could she own such a large building? The broker replied. It's true she sells food, but all the best buildings around here are also owned by her and her husband. It can't be. You must be mistaken, right? I've been around here for so many years. If you don't like it, then look elsewhere. However, this location is the best, and these owners always charge very low prices, so many people want to rent here, the agent retorted. It's so frustrating. Are you going to sign the lease or not? Just a minute, my ex-boyfriend's mother's face twisted, and she approached my mom and me. As she approached, I laughed at her, feeling vindicated. Isn't it a shame that a low-class family like this owns this building? We'll rent to anyone, but never to you. Well, let's be frank. Sorry, I didn't know your parents owned so many buildings. Fine, if I had known before, I would have done this. Why did you make everything so difficult by not saying it before? I'm sorry. Please forget the past and let's make a new start. When I saw that fake woman start to smile at me, the fury I had been holding in exploded, and I yelled. What you're saying doesn't change anything. Whether there are buildings or not, you're regretful now that you found out we apparently have money when you thought we were poor. You have nothing, but don't use your son as bait to climb up in life. My mom pulled my sleeve to make me stop. She said, Sarah, enough, and told me to leave. My ex-boyfriend's mother became frantic and said, I'm sorry for what happened before. As a single mother, life was very difficult trying to raise a son alone. I made a mistake. Please think about my son and please continue with the marriage. I got a big loan, even putting my house up as collateral for this building, even taking a loan in my son's name. This building is much cheaper, despite its great location, and I put everything here. So, please help me and help my son. My mom was so perplexed that her hands began to tremble again. My dad, who heard the news, came to us and asked me what was going on. I told him the truth, and he grabbed a broom from the emergency stairs and started sweeping the floor where my ex-boyfriend's mother was. Why is there so much dirt in this building? That's why the bad luck. My ex-boyfriend's mother was pushed back due to my dad sweeping and ran out, looking embarrassed by the situation, still angrily shouting that she had never been treated like this in her life. My mom and I felt relieved, as if a weight had been lifted off our chests. Afterwards, the buildings around our neighborhood began to appreciate. Not only my mom's building, but also my dad's buildings appreciated so much that, for the first time, they could earn the largest amount of money in their lives. I jokingly told them they should stop working and enjoy themselves at home. But what do you mean? Money should be earned with one's own hands. We'll save that money to use when our 2 daughters get married. Your dad and I are perfectly happy working at the markets, aren't we, dear? Selling at the market is fun because the people there are real, and if we're not there, what about all those people looking for us to eat their hot dogs? We sell food, but we also sell fun. It's fine. It's okay if you two are happy like that. Don't stop a business because of the 2 of us. I think my parents are a couple made for each other. I hope one day I can find my soulmate, who would appreciate people like our parents. I've overcome obstacles in life that I wished hadn't happened, like a broken engagement, but I think I learned a lesson from my parents once again. They say there should be no discrimination in what kind of work one does. When my dad said they sell good memories, I think he was right. And if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel, like, comment and share this story.